What is going on, everybody, and welcome back once again. My name is Jordan, also known as J Monster, and thank you for joining me for another third Age Reforged replay battle, and this one is very special. This is, in fact, the finals. This is the last game of the tournament between myself, Archangel, and the opposing forces, and there's a lot of really cool tactics and really great plays. It is a very short battle, but it is sweet and very action-packed, so we're going to slow it down just a little bit so you guys can see all of the stuff that's going on, because there's so much that happens in a very short period of time. But before we do that, let's get into the army compositions, then we can jump right into the battle. So the first force we're going to look at is the Orcs of Gundabad. This is my army. I have 2 units of Warg Riders, 1 unit of Witch Realm Inquisitors, 2 units of Hammer Guard, 3 units of these Gundabad Guard. These guys are so good at holding up against the good faction heavy infantry, and the Orcs desperately need a unit like this. They are also armor piercing, as are many of the units of my armies, because we are fighting Gondor and the High Elves, and you'll see why that's important in just a second. I've also got 2 units of Black Heroics in the center. These guys are armor-piercing shock troops, again, really important for this army build. I've also got 2 units of Numenorean Shadow Guard. You can see them just beginning to open fire on the enemy lines here. A little bit less than normal. I usually try to take about 3 of them, but unfortunately we didn't have enough of them, or it wasn't really enough army, or money, rather, to go into the rest of our army for the strategy that we wanted to employ. Over here you can see a small flanking force, my second unit of Hammer Guard, a unit of Goblin Trackers. These guys are terrible, but honestly they're just there because I had a little bit extra money left over. I've also got a unit of Trolls of Gundabad, and we're going to use this flanking force to great effect to support our ally Archangel, who is playing the Sylvan Elves. He's got 3 units of Hiri Lang, 3 units of Sylvan Heavy Swordsmen, a huge shock troop block here. Like, this is gigantic. 1 unit of Elder Palace Guard, 1 unit of Elder Royal Council. He's also got a couple of Sindar Blade Masters hiding around in there somewhere. You can't see them because unfortunately they are hidden right now. In addition to all of that, he's got 2 units of Elder Pathfinders, very awesome shock heavy cavalry. He's also got a unit of Elder Kingsguard, who are they're kind of the anvil to the hammer that is his Elder Pathfinders. We've both kind of brought similar cav forces. I've got 2 units of Wargs who are good on the charge, but don't stand up very well in a straight fight. And of course I've got my Inquisitors. So we've got a kind of like a mirror force of cav on the other side here. Let's take a look at the opposing armies. The first faction is the High Elves, being played by Happy Meal. He's got 2 units of Inlandris Cav, 1 unit of Elder Rinway Lancers, or Elder Rinway Nobles rather. Lancers were in fact banned from this battle because of feedback from the community. So yeah, he's got a lot of Lancer units. They're just not the fan favorite Elder Rinway Lancers. In terms of infantry, he's brought in 2 units of Elder Rinway Spearmen, 2 units of Imladris Stormguard, 4 units of Elder Rinway Archers, and you can't see them. Again, he's got some Sindar Blade Masters. They are very sneaky. So both the Elven factions have 2 units of Sindar Blade Masters, which is pretty much the max that you can afford, conceivably, in a tournament. The Gondor play, this is being played by Miles. I'm not going to pronounce that name. It's way too freaking long, but we'll just call him Miles for short. He has 2 units of Knights of the Silver Swan, 1 unit of Citadel Guard Spearmen, 2 units of Tirthair Wardens, 1 unit of Pelargir Marines. These are Javelin men who are good at supporting a battle line and getting some early kills on enemy infantry blocks as they come in. He's also got 3 units of Tirthair Marksmen. These guys are 2 HP, high defense arrow units, very good at wearing down opposing skirmishers, but luckily I didn't really invest too heavily in my skirmish line. In the back, he's also got 2 units of Dismounted Swan Knights, 2 units of Haven Guard, 1 unit of Nimrodal Rangers, 1 unit of Ballista, and over here on his left flank, he's got a unit of White Knights. These guys are basically anti-everything. They're anti-cav, anti-armor, and they're pretty good at taking down infantry as well, being a heavy cav unit. So that's pretty much it. Let's hop right into this battle because it starts off fast and furious. You can see our armies beginning to rush forward here. Our strategy is very much to try and rush their forces and kind of catch them on the back foot. But what we noticed was that the High Elves deployed quite far from their ally. So we are kind of moving on an intercept course here to try and cut these guys off, but they are close enough and the Elves are very swift that they are going to be able to march to their allies' lines and begin to set up their battle lines before we're able to get there. But we are hot in pursuit, and the High Elven player has left his cavalry behind. He's trying to screen the movements of his army, which is a very good decision, with his cavalry force, trying to keep this large infantry force of Archangel is at bay. So he's just kind of trying to zone out the enemy army by using the menace posed by his heavy cavalry. But you can see I've got some flanking forces coming up here as well. So these guys, they're moving forward now. They're gonna find themselves in a very precarious position because he's got the entire force of Archangel, a lot of shock troops, a lot of armor-piercing shock troops, as well as my my expeditionary force here coming in to cut off his retreat and menace this elven flank. You can see some fire arrows going off here. This is probably a bit of a mistake. This is like a night/rain battle, so they are on by default. I think he just forgot to turn them off. But the High Elves a little bit disorganized here. You see them trying to form lines, Oh, look at this! Look at this huge cav fight going off here. Archangel not going to let these elves get the charge. He's going to be able to deny this unit a charge. These two are going to be able to crash into the flank of his Elder Pathfinders, but these Elder Kingsguard as well, going head to head with these Envelopment Cavalry. But honestly, these guys are so good, and there's so much support in this area from his infantry that this is going to be a really tough fight for these cavalry. His ally Gondor bringing in a unit of Swan Knights. Look at these guys. Very, very good cav. These guys are honestly some of the best cavalry in the game. Coming in to try and support his ally, who's going to pull out just in time as just as the Swan Knights drop their lances. And they're going to charge right into these Pathfinders. And this is going to be devastating for these Pathfinders. Look at this, so much damage. A lot of these Pathfinders starting to fall. And at the same time, his ally circles back to try and support his ally's cavalry charge. But Archangel bringing in a lot of his heavy troops. The Elven player's going to try and pull out. Looks like Gondor might be trying to pull out as well, but he's just kind of getting stuck on his allies and those heavy Pathfinders. Let's take a look over here, because there's another cav fight materializing between myself and the Gondor player. We have managed to surround his units of Swan Knights and White Knights. And you can see I brought my my Witchwoman Inquisitors in the back there. Got some wargs going head to head with these guys. Pretty tough fight for these cav units. You can see a lot of them starting to go down, and at the same time I'm bringing in some spearmen to try and support these guys, because this is really the killing power of the Gondor army. He's got a lot of spearmen and a lot of like holding infantry, and not much killing power in terms of infantry. But these guys are game changers. So you can see the infantry fight going off here. Let's slow it down just a little bit so we don't miss anything else. But the infantry fight going off, I'm starting to outflank his line. You can see I pulled off some of my my flanking force that I was using to support Archangel, some Hammer Guard. We're going to bring them dead center into the back of these Tirithar Wardens, and that's going to be huge. That's going to do so much damage to these guys, and it's already difficult for them to hold the line against so much heavy infantry. Look at this. That Ballista Fire taking down as many of his troops as it is of mine. You can see a lot of Tirithar Wardens going down, blowing a hole in his line. At the same time, we're starting to wrap around these Black Uruks. This is what you would call a double envelopment. We're starting to overlap him here on these flanks, and at the same time trying to finish off these cav. And you can see we've managed to bully them out of the way, so that we can bring around our cavalry into the backs of the enemy force here, just like Kenai. At the same time, Archangel, not Archimedes. Archimedes is my cat. Archangel is bringing in his forces to occupy the enemy right flank. All of these spearmen they're very bunched up. This is a very short line, so we are going to be able to use our superior infantry numbers to overlap this this flank here. You can see some of the Sindar Blade Masters there on the flank, getting ready to support these guys. But it looks like they're moving back into more of a supporting role. I think that he's probably going to move them in support of the Citadel Guard, because they cannot fight these Hiri Lang. These Hiri Lang are going to cut through the Citadel Guard. And look at this, you got a unit of Eladris Storm Guard really out of position, and I think Archangel is going to capitalize on this. This is a really exposed flank, just waiting for a nice charge. So the Elves losing a little bit of micro on their troops here. I think they might be trying to do something with their cavalry. Yeah, you can see them over here. This is definitely where Happy Meal's attention is, trying to get a nice charge onto these Sindar Blade Masters. This is a really tempting target for all that heavy cav, but honestly, they're stuck in a prolonged melee now, and you can see more swordsmen coming in to support these guys. A lot of Blade Masters have fallen, though. Look at that. This unit has been reduced to less than half strength in just a matter of moments. But I think a lot of these Imladris cavalry paid for that success with their lives. So their cavalry really starting to thin out. Because if you look over here, their cavalry managing to charge into the backs of my Gundabat Guard, but we are counter-charging them. We managed to wipe out that unit of White Knights, so that's now completely gone. So these guys have no choice but to try and flee through my Gundabat Guard in the face of what looks like some friendly fire from the Elven and remaining Tirithar marksmen. So this is a pretty tough position for these Knights of the Silver Swan, rather, to be in. At the same time, I can see the menace posed by these archers. These guys are going to whittle down my infantry over time if I let them. So I'm bringing in a unit of wargs. We're going to throw them into these Elder Inway. It's also going to be a nice little kind of bait. It's going to serve two purposes. One, we're going to disrupt the Elven archers, and two, we're going to pull these White Knights into an engagement with our wargs. At the same time, you can see me pulling out my cavalry, and we're going to circle around on this side, and we're going to try and trap these White Knights, because this is like, he wants to kind of win back the cavalry fight a little bit, and we're going to use that against him. We're going to be able to surround him with some more wargs. You can see them coming in for a nice flank charge here, and I think that my wargs are probably capable of handling all of this cav, so we're going to use our Witchful Inquisitors to launch a nice hammer and anvil into the backs of these Tirithar marksmen while these guys are occupied. Let's take a look over here at the infantry fight that's beginning to unfold between the two Elven players. You can see his cavalry really having a hard time. The Elven player is trying to use his archers to stem the tide of Sylvanel forces coming into the battle, but really at this point it doesn't look like they have a whole lot of cavalry left. I think those Sindar Blade Masters managed to get in there and possibly kill the rest of the Mithlon or Elder Inway Noble unit. So these Sylvan Spearmen really struggling against these Sylvan Heavy Swordsmen. Over here, the Sindar Blade Masters. Oh no, there goes Archangel's General. This is a really early loss and not something you want to see. I mean, the elves are very elite and they won't rout easily, but as time goes on and they start to lose numbers, you know, they're going to rout possibly at a critical moment. So they send our Blade Masters in the center here, trying to support these Elder Ringway Swordsmen, really pushing hard against these Hiri Lang, who previously were just doing so much damage to these Spearmen. You can see they've carved off about a third of the unit already. But you can see the last of the High Elven Cavalry going down there. My Trolls now in the fight against these Spearmen, managing to get into the backs and really disrupt this formation, which is going to allow the Sylvan Heavy Swordsmen to get in there and easily slay these Spearmen. You look at this. You just see them dropping at an incredible rate. This flank is not going to hold up for very long. Look at that. They're even considering routing at this point. But the Gondor player trying to stem the tide here, taking some shots on my Trolls of Gundabad, trying to take them down with his ballista. But he's in a lot of trouble too. He's had to commit his Haven Guard. This is like the best of his forces, along with his reserves. You can see these Swan Knights here along the line, but they're just not able to stand up against these Gundabad heavy infantry, these Guardians of Karn Doom, and these Wishbone Hammer Guard. Really tough fight for these guys. He actually had to commit his Pelargir Marines to the fight, which is honestly that is a desperation move here. As you can see, the Gondor and High Elven lines really starting to buckle as they're beginning to be surrounded by our troops on just about every side. In addition to that, we've managed to take down most of his Knights of the Silver Swan, but the High Elven and Gondor player teaming up to rain arrows into our cavalry, who are now so heavily reduced. We had some pretty healthy units here surrounding these Swan Knights and these archers, which on their own would have been a really easy fight for them, but with that archer support, it's really tough. So we're going to start to pull our cavalry up before we lose them completely. Oh no, our banner carrier going down, and we're going to throw them into these Elder Ringway archers. You can see another couple of our cavalrymen going down to that archer fire. Really not what we want to have happen. So we're going to throw them into these High Elves, so at least if they're going to be raining fire into us, they're going to hit some of their own troops in the process as well. And we're hopefully going to be able to disrupt this archer fire even further. All those ballista shots, look at that. It went right through him. Oh, that is so much luck. That troll did not die. That is so crazy. Went right through him. A little bit buggy by the looks of it. But I'm not really sure who Sindar Blade Masters are who. Looks like there's Sindar Blade Masters from both sides trying to break up the spear line. Looks like they're having a lot of success. Defeat's certain for these guys. They're now down to half of what we saw they were earlier. And looks like the Sylvan Elves are going to have a huge breakthrough here. The Citadel Guard down to a mere 7. So Archangel's going to be able to get in here amongst these archers. And it looks like he's already done that. He's got his Sylvan Heavy Swords fighting hard against these guys. Another unit over here starting to lose to these Sindar Blade Masters, but this does pull them out of a critical engagement, and they're not really able to take down any of our troops over in here where they're really needed. Look at that, some of that Ballista Fire taking down some of his own Sindar Blade Masters. Oh, that's so devastating for that High Elven unit. And in the back, look at this. You can see, I mean, they have free reign with their catapult, but, oh yeah, look at this. He's pulled back some of his tier 3 marksmen. We are going to be able to get our cavalry, what remains of them, in there to silence this ballista, but we do have so many archers. I've got my archer line over here. Oh no, there goes the High Elven General, hacked down in the rear by the Sylvan player. But yeah, we have so many archers back there who are able to pour so much fire into these guys. And look at this, the final nail in the coffin. Archangel has scooted his Elder Palace Guard around the back to disrupt this archer line. Look at this. These Elder Ringway archers taking a huge charge from this very elite unit. They're going to start to drop really fast. And all of this so shortly after the death of their general. A really nicely timed charge here from Archangel. Look at this. These tier 3 marksmen, they were pulled out of this area to try and put some flanking fire into my Gundabad Guard, which is a really good plan. That's going to help these Haven Guard. Look at this. Victory now certain for these Haven Guard, but it did open up this ballista, which gave us the opportunity to crush these guys. And at the same time, look at this. The High Elves beginning to rout. This is huge. These are very elite archers. It is not easy to make them run for their lives. But these Elder Palace Guard putting the fear of God into the High Elven archers, now charging into these tier 3 marksmen. And really, at this point, the front lines have collapsed. There's a huge breakthrough in the Gondorian center, and my heavy infantry beginning to pour through. And we're going to sandwich what remains of these Nimrod Guard. Looks like they don't really have any infantry left to stop us. Looks like we got some Haven Guard fighting hard over here. Archangel pulling out his Elder Rail Council. He probably has some different plans for them. Now these Haven Guard are now heavily reduced, and we're just managing to break through. And now his troops are just surrounded basically on all sides. And while all this is happening, we're still pouring arrow fire into these guys. Look at this huge charge going off into the front of these Nimrodal Rangers. And look at them, they're just dropping like flies. So many of them dying so quickly. Just the anger of these of these heavy infantry who have been peppered the entire time, just absolutely flaring up, and they're taking it out on these Nimrodal Rangers who have a lot of archer support as well. This tier 3 marksman, this is really tough. Gondor actually has his general in this unit, and look at these guys. They're down to like, what, 27, 26, 25, there's so many of them dying. So that Gondor general, looks like that's him over here, fighting for his life against the Black Uruks and the Guardians of Karn Doom. This is really desperate. At this point, we've really won the battle. If we take a look at the balance of power, I mean, it's definitely heavily in our favor. There's pretty much nothing that the High Elf and Gondor player can do at this point. And there goes the Gondor general, which is gonna cause these tier 3 marksmen here to panic and flee for their lives. So really, there's nothing really left for Gondor or the High Elves at this point. I think the High Elves have been completely eradicated. Gondor just has this one unit of tier 3 marksmen who's now being assaulted by my cavalry. So we're gonna go ahead and speed it up just a little bit. You can see them taking some shots continuously at these good and bad guard. Really, quite a lot of them have died due to that counter archer fire, which was a good move. But at that point in the battle, it was really too late for them to turn the tide of the infantry engagement. Let's speed it up just a little bit here. See some counter archer fire from our Numenorians coming in as the rest of our army converges on this one unit of tier 3 marksmen who's going to rout immediately and flee for their lives. Looks like maybe these tier 3 marksmen in the back are going to start to reform. The Elder Palace Guard of Archangel going to start to chase them down. Yeah, that's just the commentators. They all have units on this map, and it's tradition for them to kill each other. And that's basically the end of the replay. A very good game to our opponents. A lot of things went in our favor that allowed us to win this. I think that they did have the troops to do it, but we had a few things running in our advantage. We had a lot of cav, and we were able to lock down their cav and to support our cavalry with a lot of infantry, which allowed us to eliminate that huge advantage, which is really where most of the killing power of their army seemed to lie. The rest of their army was largely spears, so it was kind of like a holding army, really there to open up for hammer and anvil strikes. We also managed to basically funnel them into a bow formation, which allowed us to easily surround them, which really put the infantry fight in our favor. So a great game to Miles and Happy Meal. Thank you so much for watching the video and for supporting me throughout the tournament, everybody. And yeah, that's the end of it. So the next thing that's going to be coming up is going to be our Skyrim roleplay Let's Play. Followed by that, there's going to be another fan sent in replay, so they're going to see a lot more multiplayer content in the future. In addition to which, we are going to be starting up with For Honor very shortly. I believe it's already out. If it's not out by the time you see this video, it will be out soon, and we'll be able to play with that. And possibly, I don't know, some more stuff in the future. I have a lot of ideas. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you later. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.